history. Oftentimes, people don't know it or don't know the intricacies of it.
Engaging with the community since 1970.
Just encourage people to get a little bit of education.
This is WIS Awareness with Billie Jean Shaw.
Welcome into Awareness. 3 years after 14-year-old Cyrus Carmack-Belton was shot and killed by a convenience store owner after wrongfully being accused of stealing water bottles, and just weeks after a jury found that owner Rick Chow not guilty in his death, we're sitting down with the person who knew Cyrus best, his mother. In this one-on-one conversation today, Nicole Carmack will reflect on the son she lost, the day that changed her family forever, the verdict, and the conversations that she says still needs to happen in our community. Nicole, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you for having me.
I know that this is a sensitive conversation and it's not easy, so I truly appreciate you sitting down and talking to me today and setting what you describe as the record straight about a lot of what we've learned about Cyrus and what we didn't know about Cyrus. So with that being said, before we talk about the trial and the incident, who was Cyrus Carmack-Belton?
Cyrus was a funny, witty 14-year-old. He was very smart. He enjoyed, like all children, playing video games, playing with his friends. He was also very kind and generous in terms of the stewardship that he actually did. His principal, Shell, at Summit Parkway Middle School, she shared a lot of different things that she witnessed of Cyrus. For instance, like when a young man didn't have black shoes, Cyrus took new shoes off his feet and gave it to that young man. Also, after his death, I saw that a lot of his brand new items, like clothes, designer clothes that he did have, he actually gave them away to different friends and different people that did not have certain items. So he was just a very generous kid. He also helped with feeding the homeless. He went to Catholic school on Wednesdays, and even in that setting, his teachers had wonderful things to say about him. His intelligence and his moral compass, along with the teachers at his public school.
In our conversation, you said often Cyrus would check you if he needed to.
Absolutely, he would.
Yeah.
I would, like most parents, you'll see some people like standing around and I'll be like, oh, I wonder what they're doing. And he would definitely say, hey, Mom, you're being judgmental and that's against God. And I would be like, you know what? It is, and I'm going to work on that. So he was always checking me and letting me know that even within my own self, how I may have been perceived.
You also described Cyrus as a prayer warrior. He was always praying, and you actually came across his prayer journal as well.
I did.
Yeah.
Which was kind of shocking at first, because when I gave him the notebook, I was like, hey, you can start your prayer journal. And he was just like, why do I want to just write? I could just talk to God. I was like, yeah, but sometimes writing things out and being able to see it on paper can also help you. I said, it's like another form of like therapy a little bit. And so he actually did. He started writing to God, but when I read them, he was like praying not just about himself, but for others. Like he hoped his friends would do this, or find God, or even help him with math. And I think after every prayer he put in there, please God, help me with math, because that's one of the subjects that he found a little bit more difficult.
You said that Cyrus had dreams of being a tattoo artist, so he was a creator, a creative.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. In fact, he ordered a tattoo kit from Amazon, and they actually shipped it to the house. And he put a tattoo of a rose on his actual hand. He's right-handed, so he did it on his left hand. And I thought it was pen, like kids would like doodle on themselves. And I'm like, go go wash that off before you get ink poisoning or something.
Yeah.
And I went to rub it and it wasn't coming off, and he got the biggest kick out of it. He was laughing. I'm like, what is that? He was like, Mom, I told you I'm going to be a famous tattoo artist, so I did a tattoo. I was like, all right, where did you get that from? But he was very determined. That's something that he wanted to do. He was learning. He even pulled up different techniques.
What do you miss about Cyrus the most?
I miss his hugs, his smile, and his laughter. He gave the best hugs.
Yeah.
Yes.
And is there a memory that often replays about Cyrus in your head?
Yes. The memory of me allowing him to go to his brother's house to visit. That's the day that he died. But also, Cyrus told me that I should be more independent and not depend on him so much.
You haven't publicly spoken out in this way, like a one-on-one, a sit-down, we've out the years, but why are you deciding to sit down today?
Because I've noticed that there is a lot of misconceptions about who Cyrus is, in regards to them trying to portray him as if he was some thug, a part of a gang, or doing any illegal activity type things, and that's not who Cyrus was. Cyrus was a good young man. He was very respectful. He was very, he was not confrontational. He didn't run around with like a chip on his shoulder, and that was seen even in that surveillance video. Cyrus was not disrespectful. He was very respectful to the people that was disrespectful to him. He was not a judgmental person. He gave everyone the benefit of the doubt. And I just want everyone to know Cyrus the way that we, his family, know him to be. He was respectful, he was kind, he was loving, he was funny, and he was very generous.
Nicole, there has been a great deal said about what happened that day. From your perspective, what do you believe people have misunderstood the most about when Cyrus was killed?
The key factor is that he was running away. The other key factor is he was shot in the back. There should be no justification for shooting in the back, and we do have an example of that in South Carolina when the police officer in Charleston was chasing an African-American man and shot him in the back. He went to jail because he shot him in the back. There was no self-defense. He was not in fear of his life. And the same is for Andy Chow and Rick Chow. My son had tripped and fell and was in the midst of getting up to continue to run away, and they shot him in the back. There were 4 eyewitnesses from 4 different vantage points that communicated Cyrus had nothing in his hands. He fell, they saw the shot, but yet 4 African-American people from 4 different vantage points testified that, hey, Cyrus had nothing in his hands.
And Nicole, let's talk about the gun, because of course I know that you have even acknowledged seeing some of the social media comments, and one of the most prominent key details that have been attached to that day is that Cyrus had a weapon. Now, investigators did say that they don't believe he brandished a gun. There was one that was found near the scene, but some people are asking, why did a 14-year-old have a gun in the first place? What would be your response to that? Why
Do white people gift their children guns at age 3? Why do they take them hunting? A lot of times, as parents, we don't always know what our children have. I can actually say that there was not a gun in my home. That is because I went through everything with my kids. So why he had a gun is irrelevant. When he did not point a gun, he did not do any illegal activity with the gun, he was actually running. And like the prosecution said, had they not left their store, they would not have known that Cyrus had a gun on him if that was the case.
So you don't believe that it's pertinent to the conversation.
It is not. He was not pointing or shooting or being aggressive with a gun, with a firearm. The fact of the matter is, from all 4 eyewitnesses, Cyrus did not have a gun in his hand.
And in the last segment, you gave context as to why Cyrus was at the gas station and in that area in the first place, because of course some conversations have been shared online that he had a gun and went to go rob the convenience store. But you said that's not true.
No, it's not true. We did not live in that area. My oldest son had just moved into an apartment in Greenbrier, which is on that street. It's at like the end of the road of that street. So he was visiting his brother. His brother gave him money to add to his money, gave him an empty book bag to go get 4 bottles of water and some snacks. Cyrus went walking up to that store to get just that. However, he decided not to purchase anything. He also let them know that, hey, he didn't want to get anything out of that store.
I don't got no water in my pocket, but I'll show you water.
He put the water back and he left. He followed all of their commands as soon as he entered that store, where they said, oh, you have to put your book bag down. He did. He put his book bag at the door. He went to go shop. He looked around. He went to the water. He pulled 4 bottles of water out. He put 4 bottles of water back. You can also see on the surveillance that Alice Chow watched him do this. She was right behind him. So at no point with all of their 36 cameras that they had in their store could they see that he did not take anything. All they had to do was review the surveillance tape.
Nicole, this has seemed to become symbolic of a larger conversation surrounding race, and people have compared Cyrus's death to other nationally known cases involving Black teenagers like Trayvon Martin and Latasha Harlins back in LA. That was in 1991. When you hear those comparisons, what is your reaction?
That we are still in the same space, that when our children are murdered, we still are not getting any type of justice, because there has not been any justice.
Do you believe this was a race issue?
Absolutely, absolutely. When you hear the reports on, if you walked into that convenience store, that it was only Black and brown people's faces on the wall, that they chastised and harassed other individuals. Black people. He beat up a Black girl in his store with a gun on his hip. He didn't accost any white children or white adults that came into his store. He didn't have any white faces on those walls. The only faces that he had was Black and brown people. It was very racially motivated. And for anyone to not acknowledge that is doing a disservice.
Welcome back to Awareness, everyone. We are still sitting down with the mother of Cyrus Carmack-Belton, Nicole Carmack. Nicole, we're at the point of our conversation now talking about the trial, and when you heard the words that Rick Chow was found not guilty, do you remember what your immediate reaction was or how you felt?
Sick. I definitely gave out a scream, and
I was in shock. I could not believe it.
Why?
Because he chased our son 130 yards, more than a football field, and shot him in the back, and was able to walk and go home and not be in jail. I just don't understand how that's possible or why it's possible.
Since the verdict, many people reached out to our newsroom with questions, not only about the outcome, but what went behind certain decisions not to present certain evidence during the trial, and that may have included achievements of Cyrus and maybe past incidents involving Rick Chow. So our Judy Gatson, she sat down with a criminal defense attorney, April Sampson, who was a former prosecutor involved on the case, and this is what she had to say.
No prior bad act comes in. The rules are you only are going to talk about what happened that day or surrounding this incident. If you want to bring in prior bad acts, there's only certain ways you can do them. It has to be that it shows a modus operandi, or it can be lack of mistake or accident. There are certain elements it has to meet. In this case, there's no way to bring those priors in. He didn't, for example, it has to be, if you're going to bring it in and say this is what he does every time somebody shoplifts. Well, it would have to show that they did it at the store. Because remember, the ones that we've seen and that we know about, everything happened at the store.
Right.
By the time he pulls the gun in this one, they're 130 yards away. So it's different than the other two. And so for the state to have brought in these priors, they have to almost be exactly the same or so similar that if you did those other two, you did this one as well. And so they're not. There's just no way to bring it up. And it also, again, had they done it, and had the judge allowed it, it gives them an appellate issue. As lawyers, we're always thinking about the next step. If we get a conviction, we want it to be a good conviction.
What is your reaction, Nicole, when you learned that certain incidents involving the Chows could not be brought up in court?
Infuriating, because the whole incident started at the store. Just because he did not shoot Cyrus at the store, the whole incident occurred at the store. They initiated it. They initiated the chase. They chased him. I don't understand how it is possible not to bring up any of his prior acts when this is a part of the previous acts. Aggression, violence, it's the same. And if that is the issue because of old, outdated laws on the South Carolina books, those have to be changed. And we have to get people elected in those seats that can help us change those laws to create where we can bring up those prior acts, because that is a part of that person's personality. That is a part of that person's core value system, that they are comfortable doing such violent acts. That should be brought in. That should be accounted for. And we should also, like we've had discussions before, a hate crime bill, because my son was racially profiled at the time that he stepped into that store. And we as a community need to push for that and make our elected officials make it so and put it on the law books.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to Awareness, everyone. We are continuing our conversation with Nicole Carmack, the mother of Cyrus Carmack-Belton. Nicole, at this point, what does healing look like for you and your family?
That's a tough one. I do not think that we'll ever fully heal from such a tragedy with our son being gone. However, we do want to keep his name alive. We want to continue to have conversations about Cyrus. We want to continue to forge through and creating a legacy that can actually change not only the laws, but how people perceive our children, that our children are not villains, our children are not to be feared, that our children are children, just like their children are children. And by doing that, we do ask the community, to support us, to definitely join us on Cyrus Facebook page, and it's called Justice for Cyrus Carmack-Belton Facebook page, where we are going to establish a nonprofit in Cyrus's name that can bring not only awareness to racial injustice, but racial profiling, awareness, also gun awareness, as well as we are going to establish a scholarship in Cyrus's name to be able to send someone to college for the arts, since Cyrus was very artsy.
Cyrus was very artsy, you say, and you also just describe him as basically being ahead of his years, just being so full of wisdom. With that being said, what do you think Cyrus would tell you now about the work you've been putting in to keep his legacy alive?
Do it big. Cyrus was definitely about doing things big. Every holiday, someone's birthday, like he was just always doing big. So we're going to do it. We're going to be Cyrus strong, because Cyrus was very strong. He was strong-willed. He was smart. So we're going to be Cyrus strong. We're going to continue to fight for justice for him, to make the people that killed him accountable. We also want to make sure that this doesn't happen to any other child, because it has to be purpose from this tragedy. It has to be something. It cannot just end with Cyrus was taken in the way that Cyrus was taken. It has to be some sort of purpose behind it.
But you said one time Cyrus told you everyone was going to know his name.
Yes, he did. He said everyone will know his name.
When people hear Cyrus Carmack-Belton, hear that name for years to come, what do you want them to remember about your baby?
That he changed the world.